Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Kakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us its truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful Lord tabernacle of David. All right, so this lesson is going to be on what's coming. What's coming up will probably be the title. And what's coming up that they're actually hiding, that they're fomenting, that they're manufacturing is the Civil War. All right, we got a vote coming up on, I believe it's November the 8th. And that's what the whole Ye thing is about. He's on the WS side, which is the Republican. He's on Trump's side. Okay, so we got a genuine traitor who's stirring things up. Okay, let me see. Well, let's read this first and we'll get into it. All right, so 2 Ezra 15, what does the scripture say is going to happen? We're going to do this in phases. We're going to start at the top with what is absolutely going to happen. Then we'll go back and we'll look at a couple of sides and see them, try to keep it a secret. But we know by looking at the scriptures. 2 Ezra 15, and we'll start at 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand. That's the Civil War. Right here in Babylon the Great, the Babylonian Civil War. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their house with the sword and spoil their goods because of a lack of bread and for great tribulation. It's not going to be the North against the South in the Second American Civil War. It's going to be you against your neighbors. It's going to be red versus blue, Republican versus Democrat, black against white. Okay? It's going to be close combat from block to block. Okay? So with that, that's the official word. What we'll do first is, this is a comedy show, The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. This is comedy. But what they're doing is they're trying to soften the blow. They're letting you know what's coming. But they're going to, keep it light and, try to sneak it in there so that they can say, look, we let you know. All right, so we'll watch this, and then we'll watch what they're saying on the Senate floor, or what is the House floor. And then we'll bring you back to the scripture. So this is The Daily Show with Trevor Noah show. So it says Daily Show and comedy. A comedy, all right, is America headed to another civil war? Jordan Klepper fingers the pulse, The Daily Show. Okay, so let's watch it. But listen to what he says in the beginning, all right, because with the gravity of what he said, how do you bring comedy to it? Listen to what he says. First words.
There's no question that America is becoming more and more polarized. And it has a lot of people wondering, could this division turn into violence?
Boom. Okay, how do you turn that into comedy? All right, so watch how they slip it in them. Start it again. Now, again, what is the title? Is America headed to another civil? That's serious business. How do you bring comedy to that? And this, for everybody's information, this is Lucifer, the light bearer. You see that light? That's the light bearer, right? America is under the vibration of Lucifer. And these devils, they know what they're doing, okay? What was the first Civil War about? Putting you niggas in slavery, keeping niggas in slavery. Well, what is this about? All right, here we go.
Well, we sent Jordan Klepper to find out.
So, Lucky, I'm going to start it again from the top. Because the gravity of what they're talking about is too big for, are you just going to joke about it? This is serious business. See, niggas, You're going to laugh all the way up until they slap them cufflinks on you, throw you back in the cotton field. Let's see you laugh at that.
There's no question that America is becoming more and more polarized. And it has a lot of people wondering, could this division turn into violence? Well, we sent Jordan Klepper to find out for another episode of Fingers the Pulse.
And notice there ain't no Negroes. They ain't going to ask Negroes, well, what do you think about the Civil War? They're only going to ask and motivate, if you will, the other side. Okay? There's two sides of this thing. But Negroes, what the Civil War is about, they don't have a voice. And the one lone coon, right? Watch, the whole thing is comedy, listen.
When you've been to as many rallies as I have, you get used to hearing things you don't encounter in everyday life, like, go to hell and Klepper's a bitch. But lately, the crowds have been coalescing around one particular idea that nobody wants to hear.
Civil War? Civil War? Civil War? Civil War? Civil War.
The Civil War, our country's bitter attempt at divorce that ended with mom and dad back together in a state of constant resentment. 43% of Americans think it's very likely there's a civil war in the next decade.
Okay, I'm going to be perfectly straight up and honest. It's going to happen much sooner than that.
It's going to happen. It's going to start. The first shot might be fired with whatever the results are at the midterms coming up in November. Somebody's not going to like what's going on. And just like what's going on in World War III over in Eastern Europe, the media can spin this thing however the fuck they want to. Oh, well, the Republicans lost. Now the Trumpers are going to go shoot up the town. They're headed back to the Capitol. They can spin this damn thing however they want to. And that's what they're about to do. Okay? Understand that. So, my point is this. What is it, 12 days? 12 days to the midterms? Something's about to jump off. It's too quiet out here.
How soon? Because I have an Airbnb rented in the Outer Banks, but it turns out a lot of Americans think this way. And not just your uncle who has been hoarding weapons and Vienna sausages in his basement bunker. Even sitting members of Congress like January 6th committee member Adam Kinzinger. How close are we to another civil war?
I think we're closer than we'd like to think. And I used to be afraid to talk about it. Now I think it's important for us to talk about it.
To talk about a civil war?
Yeah, because I think we have to be aware of where we're at. I don't think it's going to be north and south with large marching armies. You know, if I live in Illinois, there's going to be Republicans and Democrats in Illinois. I do think it could get violent easily.
I mean, that's scary.
It is scary.
If a sitting representative like Kinzinger thinks a second civil war is possible, it's something we need to take seriously. So I decided to gather Americans in one of our most sacred traditions of civic unity, the Corporate Focus Group.
Okay, so this is something we need to take seriously, but we got it on a comedy show. We're going to make light of it. Listen to this.
Kinzinger thinks a second civil war is possible. It's something we need to take seriously. So I decided to gather Americans in one of our most sacred traditions of civic unity, the Corporate Focus Group, bringing together conservatives and liberals in Purple, Arizona, who all think civil war is a real possibility. The civil war is tomorrow. What is the skill set you bring to the battlefield?
Well, I'm good with a gun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. James?
I have survival skills. I was in the military. I know how to shoot a weapon, hand-to-hand combat if I have to. I could stick you with a knife and not, cry about it.
We're laughing about sticking people with a knife, but... Okay. Lansing, what skills?
Leadership.
Leadership?
Yeah, I just feel there's going to need to be some leaders.
Bo, what skills do you have?
Critical thinking.
Jesus. For all of the liberals here, we have a leader and a critical thinker. This is why the blue side is But if America was going to be divided in a civil war, where would the modern-day Mason-Dixon line fall? It was time for a state-by-state fantasy draft.
Where's Jake at?
Nightmare draft. We've terraformed the states that have been red and blue to kind of create one land mass. Who sees himself as conservative, part of the red map here? Are these the states you would want?
Oh, I much prefer the red states.
What breaks your heart? What are you going to miss?
Well, Arizona. Isn't that supposed to be a red state,
Yeah,
though?
let's say we give you Arizona. Where do you want to travel to?
Well, I love California, but it's turned into such a shithole.
Let's be fair, as a red state guy, the blue state has the best food,
Oh yeah.
right? Bo, what would you miss?
Not a ton.
The best food. Look, this is stupid comedy.
As a liberal, you're feeling pretty good about the states you get.
Honestly, I feel all right. We got Hawaii.
You do have Hawaii. James, what are you missing? You're going to be in this red
Well,
conglomerate,
the
right?
family's from back east in Ohio, so yeah, I mean that would be.
You'd miss Ohio?
I wouldn't trade Cleveland for anything.
I'd trade Texas for California so I can go to San Diego.
Okay.
That's what the Jake has to say. In the highest effeminate voice that he can muster. Worse than Mike Tyson.
Wouldn't trade Cleveland for anything.
I'd trade Texas for California so I can go to San Diego.
Okay. Any other trades? Texas for California? Blue side, would you allow that trade?
I'll take Austin for Cleveland, but I don't need all of Texas.
We'll do an Austin for Cleveland?
I don't want Cleveland. He's in Cleveland. I want San Diego.
What will you give up for San Diego?
I would give up Florida.
No thanks.
There's no takers.
What does Tyrone have to? What does Leroy have to say about the shit? Not Gus over here with the high Gus and the high voice.
Florida.
No.
Okay, so I guess the ocean can have Florida, which is helpful because it will probably take it anyway. And now that we have our newly divided states of America, we get to draft some new constitutions. If there is a new America, you're going to need new laws. Are there any laws you would want to change?
Get rid of the petty ones. I mean, there's lots of petty laws out there. I mean, if you pee in public, I mean, really going to be in the sex crime registry now
Pedophile.
because you peed in public? It's stupid. It's a crack in the system.
That's the first law that comes to head.
It's it's the petty laws. You get put in the federal sex crimes registry if you take a leak outside. It's just pretty dumb.
Esau trying to hide his nature.
That's just an example.
We just talked about a civil war tearing this country in two. You finally get your way.
Well, I mean,
And the first law that jumps to mind is peeing in public. Does your side not have toilets? With the vision of the new Confederacy already collapsing under the burden of sewage infrastructure, I thought it was time to cut to the chase and ask the biggest question of all. Which side wins?
we all lose.
We all lose, yeah. There's no winning there.
What if one side loses and then refuses to concede? Well, I don't know if I feel any better about the future of America. But for now, at least we still have elections. In fact, check out my new half-hour special, where I dive into the midterms and ask the very important question. Democracy. We still cool? If you knew you got fewer votes, you wouldn't concede.
What does conceding mean?
Yeah.
It means accepting loss.
No.
No.
Why?
Is democracy...
We can be tomorrow if the wrong thing happens.
You were there January 6th.
It was the most beautiful thing I ever saw.
Birds chirping, police officers screaming.
No.
So they did mention January 6th, but this is comedy. All right, this is something to laugh about, right? And that's my point. My point is they're laughing about this shit because I typed in Civil War, November 2022. Nothing came up that's current. Nothing. All right, so we're going to watch this real quick. All right. Top senator. FBI has warned of calls for civil war. And I'm going to jump in like 1 minute in.
4 out of 5 Americans shopping
Slovakia.
care with.
Now, they're going to bring a little reality to the situation, but they're basically going to say, well, what happened on 1/6/2021, and dance their way around. Some real things happened. Really, it was a rally for what is about to happen next. All right. So this is Forbes breaking news, like 4 days ago, I guess. They don't even say, do they? A month ago. Okay, this is in September, I believe. Yeah. Okay, this happened September 8th, so I don't know when they posted. Top Senator, FBI has warned of calls for civil war following the raid. What happened after the raid? Okay, that was almost a little go call. Don't you know that they could frog march this dude? They already subpoenaed him. They got a little bit of time to say, we're indicting you. right before the midterms. What about that? Anything could go down right now. But you know, we got to sit back and see. In other words, hey, be at the ready, because they can steer this thing any way they want to. All right, listen to this.
Petition and Preservation Act, sponsored by Senators Klobuchar and Kennedy, and co-sponsored by 12 other senators, including from this committee,
Not that.
Booker, Whitehouse, Graham, Feinstein, Hirono, Blumenthal, and myself.
This right here.
Before I turn to Ranking Member Grassley, let me briefly address the continued violence and threats of violence that members of federal law enforcement and the judiciary have faced since the FBI executed a judicially issued search warrant.
Now, this is dealing with the feds, okay? So basically, he's saying that the Republicans, specifically the MAGAs, are already at war with the feds, okay? And they tamped it down. They lowered the volume on it, right? But here we are going into the midterms, all right? And the Reds out there, you think that they're not paying attention or at the ready? You think that they don't have a plan going into this thing and coming out the backside? What is about to go down? Okay? And the blue states, or not even the blue states, but you Jakes, you better be ready. Anything can happen. What does the scripture say is going to happen? We're going to look at it right after this.
At former President Trump's residence on August the 8th. Following the search, the former president and his allies have relentlessly criticized the FBI with baseless claims and violent rhetoric. Some members of Congress have been called on to, quote, defund the FBI, destroy the FBI. Others have referred to the FBI as the Gestapo. The former president called FBI officials, quote, vicious monsters, close quote. It's time for these attacks to stop. We've been reminded over and over again of the vulnerability of those who are in service to this nation and to this Congress, of violent threats and violent conduct. We have tried uniformly to condemn them on a bipartisan basis and should continue to. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security have warned of an increase in violent threats and acts of violence against federal law enforcement officials and facilities following the FBI's August 8th search. These include threats to place a dirty bomb outside the FBI headquarters and online calls for civil war and armed rebellion.
Say that again. What are we dealing with here? This is calls for civil war, armed rebellion, bombs. What's going on here? And Jake, you don't understand where you fit into this? Okay? They're not after, Esau's not after Esau. He's after you, Jake. Civil war, add it up. Calls for civil war. They're coming after you, Jake.
FBI's August 8th search. These include threats to place a dirty bomb outside the FBI headquarters and online calls for civil war and armed rebellion. On August the 11th, a man wearing body armor and armed with an AR-15 assault rifle and a nail gun attempted to breach the FBI's Cincinnati field office. On August 16th, the man was indicted for threatening to murder everyone at the FBI, from Director Wray to agents, even custodial staff. The FBI is not alone in receiving these vile threats. The magistrate judge who approved the search warrant has been subjected to a torrent of violent and anti-Semitic threats. A synagogue on whose board the judge serves canceled services because of these threats. As I've said many times, political violence and threats of violence in furtherance of any cause is unacceptable. I commend to you to read the horrifying article in the Washington Post this morning about one of our colleagues in the House in which she has been put through with threats at her home. We must condemn the growing use of violence for political grievance and not fan the flames of hate ourselves. I renew my call for the Senate to pass the Daniel Anderl Judicial Security and Privacy Act, a bill that would protect our federal judges and that has been held up by one Republican senator on the floor for months.
Good enough. All right. See how they just waved by. They mentioned it. So what is about to happen when it's time to vote? in 12 days. What is about to happen? Let's see what comes up with this search. 1 month, 3 weeks. Nothing about violence. 4 months, 2 days. Here's what midterm projections are looking like 2 weeks out from. What does that mean? 5 days. Important dates. Early voting. Early voting. Look at this. Early voting begins Monday. Why they got Jake? Okay. Is that a coincidence? Pollster Frank Luntz warns midterm results may not be clear. What could that mean? Are they about to start something? That's going to start some shit. Who won? Well, we don't know. Oh, voter fraud. What is about to go down? This guy, Donald Trump, if they reinstate him on Twitter and let him start tweeting about how the whole thing is rigged, what will we have in 12 days? Is a lot of time to tear some shit up. Elon, yesterday or the day before, they're already saying he got Twitter when it wasn't supposed to go down until today. What is going on? Early voting turnout in midterm elections breaks record set in 2020. What is going on? Devastating prediction 9 days ago. Nobody's saying nothing about violence and turmoil. Why is America in a new era of political violence? 2 days ago, Vice. Finally. All right, so we'll go ahead and end it. Here's what's going to happen. Thus saith the Lord. What is the Most High going to do? Let's put it that way. All right. Ooh. Isaiah 19:2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. This word Egyptian, talking about the Americans. Set the Egyptians against I will set the Americans against the Americans, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fall in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to wizards. Okay? This is done. All right? The downfall of everything. This is apart from the Salakia, from World War III. While World War III is raging, they're going to have a fight going on here in America to distract you from the nukes that are about to drop between now and next year. All right? And then they have everything set up, right? They're going to try to bring in the MOTB. They got the little FEMA camp set up, waiting. They got to get it popping first. Then they bring in the martial law. Then the camps. Then the forced C-hip. Okay? They got to bring this thing to its knees and get you starving out there so you'll voluntarily line up and go get that mark. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect will edify you, brothers and sisters. Pay attention, stay alert. Something's about to go down in the run-up to November 8th or shortly thereafter. All right, so with that, shalom.